Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Will we please stand for the pledge?
Recording in progress.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have a roll call vote? Roll call vote. Let's have a roll call vote.
Roger Brock,
Here.
William Hutton,
Here.
Dennis Radowski, Nancy Reagan,
Here.
Kathleen Hill.
Here.
Board present, we have a quorum.
Do we have a motion in regard to the minutes for August 29th, 2023?
I'll make that motion for approval.
I'll second the motion.
Do we have a roll call vote?
Roger Brock,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes?
4 ayes, 0 nays, motion passed.
Right. Under old business, could we have a motion to take off the table and here under new business, Z-23, 23-22, Z-23-03A, and Z-23-03B after Z-2314.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have a roll call vote?
Roger Brock.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Nancy Reagan.
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes?
4 ayes, 0 nays, motion passed.
All right. Is there any other new business, or can we move to old business?
No other old business, you're going to
I
new
make
business.
Move to new business. Under new business then, we have, does any board member or staff members have a problem if we hear, or you want to hear Z-23-14 first and then deal with the other ones?
That was what the motion was to
Okay.
do.
So Z-23-14 is petition Americo Real Estate Company, known as AREC, for conditional use regarding Title 10, Section 10.11, parens 15, to allow a self-service storage facility in a C4 General Commercial District located at 6303 Calumet Avenue in the city of Hammond.
Okay, Madam Chairman.
Can we check to see if all notification requirements have been met?
Madam
Okay,
Chairman.
sorry.
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
what based on conversations with the petitioner, what we can do is call all 4 cases and let them do a combined presentation, and then the board has to make the motions for each one separately.
that's what I was going to suggest. So would you like me to read the other 3 cases?
Say again?
Would you like me to read the other 3 cases so the audience or
Yes.
anybody listening would like to know?
Yeah, yes.
All right, then I will continue. Then we also have Z-23-02 petition of Americo Real Estate Company, AREC, for conditional use regarding Title 10, Sections 10.11 in relationship to 10.10, parens 3, automobile rental to allow a truck and trailer sharing rentals at a self-service storage facility in a C4 General Commercial District located at 6303 Calumet Avenue in the city of Hammond. We also have Z-23-03, parens A, petition of Americo Real Estate Company, AREC, for a developmental variance regarding Title 19, Sections 19.70.15, self-service storage facility building height to allow an increase in the maximum height for a self-service storage facility building from a 1-story 15-foot to 3-story 40-foot in a C4 General Commercial District located at 6303 Calumet Avenue in the city of Hammond. And then we have Z-23-03, parens B, petition of Americo Real Estate Company, AREC, for a developmental variance regarding Title 19, Sections 19.70.20, self-service storage facility, building construction appearance and size to allow an increase in the maximum area of self-service storage facility building from 10,000 square foot to 83,000 square feet in a C4 General Commercial District located at 6303 Calumet Avenue in the city of Hammond. And I think we've covered them all?
I think so.
Okay, has all notification been given, received?
Yes, they have.
All right. Do we have any problems with the board or the staff if we hear them all and we basically do public comments in regard to all of them and then go for separate vote? All right. Would you like to present?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry? Grenor, do you have the presentation that was
Oh,
prepared?
I'm sorry, I forgot, you're supposed to state your name
Oh, I'm sorry.
and your address, all right?
Not a
And
problem.
sign in.
Of course.
That's my fault.
So I'm Ray Powell. I'm the marketing company president for Northern Indiana. The address that we're representing is 6303 Calumet Avenue, Hammond, Indiana. And then my home address is 17324 Brookwood Drive, Lowell, Indiana.
Right. Are you both going to be presenting?
I'm going to be doing pretty much all of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have him sign in now too, so he can
Sure, I'll go
speak
ahead and do
also?
it to speed it up. My name is Rick Rottweiler. I'm Area District Vice President for U-Haul. I cover the Chicagoland area, Northwest Indiana, and my home address is 3649 West Belle Plaine Ave, Chicago, Illinois, 60618.
Thank you.
Sign.
If, when you continue, could you just make sure the microphone's a little bit closer, because there's some acoustical issues.
Sure. All right, so we're here because we've prepared and submitted the petition packages for the two conditional use permits and the two developmental variances. Through these petitions, we're looking for the opportunity to receive the Hammond's participation in counseling regarding the property located at 6303 Calumet Avenue, Hammond, Indiana, where we're wholly owned and a subsidiary of Eric in the U-Haul system. U-Haul is proposing that a U-Haul moving and storage facility at the above-mentioned address as far as 6303 Calumet Avenue, and the proposed U-Haul uses of the U-Haul self-storage, U-Haul truck and trailer sharing, and all related retail sales. If you're interested, you can refer to, we've submitted a site plan and elevation drawings for any additional details if you'd like. The proposed multi-story building will be climatized and will contain 690 self-storage units, along with the required 20 ADA units as well, as required by code. The retail sales will be conducted through the proposed showroom area that's listed on the first floor of the building. U-Haul stores characteristically serve the do-it-yourself household customer. The store will be staffed with probably 10 to 15 employees with both full-time and part-time. Sufficient parking is provided per Hammond Code regulations, and details of this can be reviewed in submitted site plan as well. U-Haul has provided a 0.6 acre of green open space area, which is more than the required 0.27 acres. U-Haul has also made the effort of providing sufficient landscaping buffer towards the residential zone properties abutting the southern property line. U-Haul customers must adhere to the strict U-Haul policies that ensure that the facility is a safe location and in no way poses any hazards to its employees, customers, or surrounding areas. And that's pretty much it for that. Oh, site plan is obviously up on the screen there.
So you can see on the site plan, we have the building positioned in the northwest corner of the property there. That's where we'll conduct the self-storage business and retail sales that are associated with it. And you can see in the southeast corner of the property where we propose to have our shunting lanes for our equipment. All equipment will be staged within those lanes. And then, Gurnor, if you want to just move over to the conceptual of the building so you can see what we're going to propose here. So you can see the three-story building that we've proposed here. We've done what I think is a great job following the design guidelines that we've been given so we can improve upon the building and make it something that looks good in the community and that the community is going to appreciate. So Gurnor, if you want to keep going there. So you can see the different elevations there as she kind of went through. Sorry, it's a little tough to do with somebody else manning the computer there. As you can see from some of these examples, we've done this in many communities across North America. You'll see a few different examples of ground ups and how we were able to design buildings that do fit into the guidelines for the community and what we think is an improvement upon what we previously had as U-Haul. So you can see a couple different options here that we've built around the U.S. and potentially Canada. As you can see, there's a multitude of different ways we can design the building that fit within design guidelines for the community.
And then we're going to go ahead and list out some of the security features that we have in all those locations as far as, especially this location here being the fact that it will be a interior self-storage facility. So we have state-of-the-art burglar max alarm system, which includes 24-hour monitoring and interior motion detectors on all the storage floors, stairwells, and main showroom. We have hands-free intercom system able to communicate to all the max stations that are available to customers throughout all floors of storage specifically designed for their use. We have 24 digital high-definition video surveillance cameras with remote and web-based viewing. Individually alarmed rooms, armed and disarmed by a keypad and a swipe that's available for every customer. Programmable and automatic security gates, which only allow paying customers to have access to the facility. 16 plus color high-definition day and night cameras will display facilities interior, exterior, and the elevator. And the multiple audible sirens for the storage and burglar alarms on the site as well. And then, of course, the exclusive U-Haul patented latch contact used in all storage units for the security system. And then as far as our sustainability program, we also have on site for all customers, we'll have a box exchange so that we can reuse boxes. We also facilitate multiple reuse as far as reuse of any of the supplies or any of the belongings that people will leave for the next customers. We have, obviously with our truck share, we have fuel economy gauges, we have biodegradable packing peanuts in our showroom. We have moving blankets that are made of denim so that they're actually degradable as well. We have reuse centers that are inside, which she actually showed on a previous slide for anybody in storage that would like to leave stuff for the next customer so that they can use as well. We also have a conservation fund called Go Zero. And then we are placing all U-Haul dealerships and equipment in the neighborhood, reducing customer fuel consumption and CO2 generation. Again, just making things convenient and short distances for all of our customers. And looks like we're on to the traffic slide, which is at the back.
So essentially, this slide here just shows some general traffic studies and commercial uses. Essentially, what we're showing with this is that use for our truck and self-storage generates less traffic than most other commercial uses. So you're going to see that a use of a self-storage and rental facility is going to be generate less traffic than a fast food restaurant, gas station, hotel, or casual dining restaurant. So I know the perception is that the traffic will be higher, but actually it's much lower than any of these other uses.
And then just some basic benefits that we usually end off the presentation with, just obviously for the local area. So we're obviously interested in promoting growth in the community. We also want to promote sustainability and generate less traffic, as he was just saying, rather than more, and thus reducing any kind of congestion in the area and pollution. It also promotes sustainability via the truck share system, which also, again, reduces congestion and CO2 emissions. We also would like to add the property value and increases the tax base, which strengthens the economic base of the community. We also promote reuse programs and help reduce tree harvesting and pulp manufacturing based on our system uses. And in the plan, U-Haul expansion would adhere to all city code, obviously, and standards, creating a new use for the existing site that's currently vacant.
So that's kind of the overview of what we do and what we're proposing here. So we should start off with the self-storage.
Start off specifically for the self-storage use, under the conditional use. You want to elaborate more on that? And I'm going to have some questions.
All right. So we're going to start off with, obviously, Z23, or -23-14, the conditional use permit for self-service storage facility at the 6303 Calumet Avenue location. And we're looking to construct a 3-story climatized self-storage facility under the U-Haul branding. The new facility will serve in addition to the U-Haul's existing self-storage facility and truck and trailer rental facility over on 165th Street and 828 Ridge Street, which is to remain open. Yeah, did I miss anything? That's the first one. Am I listing all, we're stopping that one?
You want, until they're done, or you want to take questions from the board on each one?
I'd like to at least do questions of the board and questions of the staff.
Okay. Any board members have any questions in regard to Z23-14, the self-service storage facility? Mr. Hutton?
I do, thank you very much. That was a great presentation. We appreciate your interest and the opportunity. I do have a couple of questions for you, and that is, you have over 600 storage units in this building?
Correct. It's
Did I hear that?
630.
Realizing that, how many people do you think, visitors, guests, whatever you want to call them, will be on site at any one time?
It varies quite a bit. Honestly, with self-storage, it's a very limited exposure because most people tend to store and access their units rarely unless they're moving in or out. So, I mean, as far as an exact number, it's kind of hard to say, but probably nothing too egregious.
Yeah, in general, we would expect, in a max really for this size facility, maybe 20 or 30, and that'd be on a busiest time, say on a Saturday, which is generally our busiest time, Friday, Sunday. Throughout the day, weekday, you're probably looking under 10 at a time, at any given time.
Are you saying 10 throughout the day? Or 10
at one time.
Yeah.
at one time?
Sure.
Okay.
So when I look at 10 at one time, plus 15 employees, that's 25 people on site.
No, the 15 employees would be the total amount of employees
Oh.
on staff, not the number on
Well, how
site.
many employees would be on site then?
Again, it would vary, but probably 2 to 3.
Okay. Okay.
I just got a quick question, too.
I don't know if Mr. Hutton was done
Oh,
yet.
I'm sorry. Oh, Mr. Hutton? That's not an
That's
important
all right.
question. It's
That's all
just a
right.
question.
When we talk about the landscaping, we appreciate you going from 3 feet to 10 feet. But looking at your plan, we're looking at these trees that are not densely placed or sparsely placed at 25 feet on center. Is that going to change, Brian?
Do we have, I don't know if we even have a total landscaping.
We don't have everything finalized yet, but we'd be more than happy to get everything with what the board would like.
Sure, we can submit a landscaping plan with building permit submittals as well, or the engineering.
Yeah, we would, just to kind of anticipate where he's going is that I think we need to examine that more thoroughly. And I think the point that Mr. Hutton is making is that you may want to consider a little bit denser landscaping.
My concern is the senior citizen housing to the east, the elementary school to the south, residential to the south. We want to make sure that those places are.
Certainly to the east and to the south, we're definitely considering, and I think you can see it on the site plan, even though it's not ultra-specific. The south and eastern portions of the property plan to be very heavily screened.
Speaking for the staff, those are the two more critical sides for buffering from those uses.
Sure, and we understand that.
Yeah.
I had 37 questions, but I'll give this last question and I'll stop. I didn't see on the site plan, do you intend to put public sidewalks?
Currently on the site plan, we had not had a sidewalk.
I'm thinking about the kids walking to the school,
Sure.
the public. That's all.
We would normally require public sidewalks for new developments if they aren't already there, right?
Sure. And again, we're going to follow whatever needs to be followed for the code, for sure.
Last, I promise, last one. Kenwood. Is that going to be used as a staging area for traffic trying to access your property because they can't get in?
No, well, no, typically, we had a curb cut that we were looking at, and I know we still have to go through with NDOT, but the main access would be off Calumet. Matter of fact, there was some signage that was originally put in here that we would actually talk about no access or no right turns into Kenwood to
Got
keep
it.
the traffic from going that way.
I feel good about that. Thank you.
Yes.
That's it.
Well, let me just.
You have a question?
I know,
yet?
but I want
Wait,
to, I want to follow up on that point. The important thing about any signage being required, there's two components to it. The Calumet Avenue signage or inbound, outbound restrictions would be what NDOT requires.
Correct.
And when it comes to Kenwood Street, what we have been saying at the staff level is that we want to have a no right turn for trucks, not so much cars, but
Right,
the
well, I mean,
trucks.
obviously, if you live in the neighborhood, you're going to turn.
Yeah,
right.
so that they aren't going in, so those types of vehicles are not going into the neighborhood. You know, it's kind of ironic because where else would a moving vehicle go but go to somebody's house?
Sure.
But that's kind of where we want to have the traffic focus back to Calumet Avenue.
Yes, and we definitely create some signage that made it pretty clear as to what we want them to do.
Thank you.
I just have a small question. If I was a customer and you said you're open 24 hours,
We have 24-hour access for storage, but the
so someone
facility-
come in, you know, with a key and that, okay, and if late at night and I come in there and I'm on the third floor, what happens if the elevator doesn't work as a customer in there? Where does it go to? Is there a button?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Say that again?
Is there a button to press that goes somewhere to let someone know that the elevator quit working on these people that could be in there late at night?
We call them MAX stations. Essentially, they're signed, basically, there's a sign on all of these throughout the facility that designated as a place to go. Basically, you hit a button, that button rings through to an alarm room or through our office during business hours, and we can, the buttons actually have a camera too, so we can see the customer, speak to them through that intercom box,
Okay.
and understand what the needs may be.
And they're also clearly designated on any maps that we provide for the customers too, so that they can clearly see if they're even in the middle of the storage facility and they wanted to access one, they can just go right to the one that's listed on the map to the closest one that they need to access.
Okay, thank you.
If I, or, I don't know,
Go
any
ahead.
other board
Any other
questions?
questions from the board members?
No.
All right, so a couple of points for clarification. I believe at this point, you have not finalized your engineering of the property and determining whether or not there's any detention needs. Do you have any time frame in which you would expect to have that completed?
So previously, when we discussed this back in February, we had a civil engineer on board at the time, obviously on hold until now. I re-engaged the civil engineer this week, and we'll be going through with preliminary as well as final engineering, and of course, we'll submit that for feedback from the city of Hammond.
So I know it's hard to predict what a civil engineer is going to tell us, but I'm going to make a bold statement that there's probably enough property that could be converted to a detention basin if necessary that would not undermine your operation.
Sure, and of course, I mean, this is going to be dependent upon the civil engineer and their findings. Obviously, we would want to do what's required, and design around the requirements of the city, so.
Yeah, and then also, if, detention basins are kind of challenging for us because they become more of a headache than they benefit. So obviously, underground detention is a preferred direction to go.
Yeah, I would say preliminarily with the size of the site, it sounds like that's where it most likely will go. Of course, we're going to defer to the civil engineer and their expertise on how it gets done. But of course, we would submit the prelim and final engineering for comments and approval as well.
Okay. For the benefit of, I think, everybody in the board, one of the things that, we didn't really talk about formally, but for the board members to remember that this was initially presented earlier in the year under a different case number. The board, upon staff's recommendation, denied the case, and then we tabled the other three. And one of the reasons that was used at the time for the staff's recommendation for denial was some significant outstanding questions regarding the environmental condition of the property. And I want to make sure that that's addressed in the record because that was one of the reasons why we're coming back. And so you conducted phase 1, phase 2. I think there were issues of previous documents were a little too old, so you've updated them. You've had someone go out and investigate it. Our environmental management department was concerned because of the previous use of the property, going back to a fire that was, 34 years ago, based on it being a fertilizer company, and who knows how that impacted the ground. So I think it's fair to state that they have provided the information to the Environmental Management Department, and the Environmental Management Department is satisfied with the results of the phase 2 and that there's no environmental concerns.
All right, and that is also in the report, too.
Okay.
That is also in the report, that information.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that I know I had sent emails to Gernor, and I'm not sure if that's been adequately addressed, is that, there's a precedence with other self-storage facilities in which a commitment document is generated that talks about some of the restrictions that would be applied to the self-storage. And Gernor provided us a copy of the end user contract. And one of the things that I tried to address is that that contract is not comprehensive enough for what we require. And there was a reference, it clearly is referenced in the zoning ordinance under Title 19-70-10, what those typical restrictions are. And I did provide Gernor an example from another self-storage facilities. What their document was, not that you can necessarily steal or copy another attorney's work, but it is an idea. It is intended to give you what is considered to be the appropriate level. And so I just want to make sure that you are aware of that.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anything else?
I want to back the train up, if I may. If I have a storage area inside, I can get in there 24 hours a day?
Only if you have access for that.
Right, I understand that.
Correct. You would have to have a swipe card and a code to get inside.
And that access level is determined by each customer and their needs. So it's dependent upon the needs of the customer and whether or not we deem access to it, so.
What's to prevent somebody else from following me in after I open the door?
So essentially, every unit in that facility is individually alarmed. So if you were, say you were the customer that has access, and somebody wanted to tailgate behind you that did not have access, should they try to access their specific storage unit or any other, basically an alarm would go off saying, this person's not supposed to be in the building yet, they haven't checked in, or if it were, God forbid, somebody else that was trying to access a unit, they're all, again, individually alarmed. So unless you as the user are swiped in or checked in to be on site, alarms will go off for any of the facilities.
If I misplace my card, somebody else could access the building using my card.
If you misplace your card and then notify us that it's been misplaced, then
Got it.
we'll switch it all and
Perfect.
get it taken care of.
So you don't do biometrics?
Not at this time.
As a follow-up to that,
That's where I was going.
And hopefully, if somebody's following you in, you would check, make sure that they had access to it before you would allow them to follow you in.
Thank you.
as a follow-up, for control to site access, is this going to be security gates at the drive-up entrance, or is this going to be like anybody can access the parking lot at any time, and then you can enter the building only with the card?
Parking lot is open access, and to enter the building is card swipe or code access.
And is that to allow, so people can drop off their trucks at any time
Sure.
at
So
night?
you didn't get
Okay.
off work till 6 PM and you need to move tonight, you can rent your truck and then come back and drop it off when you're finished.
Any other question? All right.
Okay,
Board members have any other questions, or shall we move to Z 2302?
Yes.
Okay, and that would be as far as the conditional use permit for truck and trailer rental.
Right, so for this particular one, we're actually looking to ask for conditional use for truck and trailer rental and share, for truck and trailer sharing on the site of 6303 Calumet Avenue.
And typically, these vehicles are your moving vans, and what kind of trailers?
Just small enclosed trailers. We do have some small open trailers as well, but typically they're fairly small in size.
They range from like a 4x6 on the small end to a 6x12 on the largest end. So if you need to do home repair or grab some 2x4s from, the hardware store down the street, you can rent that, hook it up to the back of your vehicle and haul some lumber, mulch, those sort of things.
How many vehicles do you typically have on the property for rental?
It depends on the demand. So basically, I have proprietary systems that kind of tell us how many customers at any given time are demanding equipment, and we redistribute them from multiple locations in order to satisfy that demand. Of course, it doesn't help us to have any equipment sitting on a lot, not moving. So we, like I said, we have the systems in place that kind of tell us how many need to be at any given time, and it's also seasonal. So it's hard to give a specific number. Suffice it to say that, again, it doesn't help us to have equipment that just sits there.
Okay, and we've already talked about the no right turn sign, and that was specifically for this part of this conditional use.
Correct, yeah.
So your clients are able to contact the office and say, I need such and such for rental, will it be available on such and such day, and you would be able to provide one for them?
Either that or we'd provide another location nearby, because there are other facilities that we could direct them to, because again, it's going to be kind of drop-off, pickup kind of situation. So if we don't have a very specific type there, we refer them to other locations.
Okay. Any other questions from board members, staff? Any other comments you would like to make in regard to the conditional use permit?
So I think it's kind of pretty self-explanatory after the presentation and description we've given thus far.
All right, then we'll move to Z 23-03, parens A, which is the developmental variance with a height over 15 feet and 1 story for self-service storage facility.
All right, so for Z-23-03A, again, we are looking at a construction of a 3-story climatized self-storage facility under the U-Haul branding from the Z-23-01. Again, the new facility will serve in addition to our other sites, and we are looking at 3 floors. And this request is going to be a 40-foot at 3 stories for the upper limit for the C4 district buildings on site.
So essentially, if you go back to the site plan that we had shown earlier, you'll see the footprint of the building. Long story short, we're looking to get approval for a total of 3 stories.
In a sense, it utilizes the area.
Right, exactly.
Correct. Maximize the area that it's, the footprint that it's on.
Board members have any questions or comments? Staff?
No.
All right, we will move to Z-23-03B, developmental variance for the building footprint over 10,000 square feet for self-service storage facility.
So again, it relates to the last developmental variance that we've requested here. We're trying to go up 3 floors and construct the amount of rentable square space needed in order to pay the bills, essentially, and to serve the customer. So,
Board members?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Hunter?
Looking at 83,000 square feet, is this building going to have a fully operational fire protection system?
absolutely.
That's a yes.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
If I may also just to clarify for the record, the 82,044 square feet is all the floors,
Correct. That's the gross square footage.
as opposed to the footprint is 27,348 square feet. So the regulation is allowing you to go from 10,000 square feet footprint to 27,000 square feet footprint. That's technically what the variance is.
Correct.
Otherwise, you would have 3 27,000 square foot buildings on the property.
Correct.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions? Do you have any other comments? All right. Could we open up for public comments in regard to all 4 cases? Do we have anybody on video that have any comments?
If you are online, you'll have to unmute, press the space bar, or click the unmute button on the Zoom display.
We have none online. None?
Did you say it 3 times?
Yeah, oh, we have no one online? All right, hearing no public comments in regard to in-house or online. No public comments, no public comments. We will close this period of public expression. All right. Any other comments from the board or the staff?
No further comments.
Pardon?
No further comments.
Okay. Then we will go back to Z-2314, the conditional use permit for self-service storage facility. Do we have a motion to accept the staff report and just into the records and just have them read their recommendations?
I should,
Yeah, that's our standard protocol.
Okay.
yeah, so,
You don't need a
Alright.
motion for that.
We don't need a motion. All right.
one thing I would like to bring up with the recommendation, after hearing the explanation of the security gate and for security door procedure, for Z2314 under number 5, we stated along with the fence to install security gates to control site access. I would think that maybe we'd want to amend that to install security doors to control building access, since you guys won't be installing actual gates on the fence. So we would rewrite it, number 5, to install a permitted 6-foot tall fence or approved alternative, especially along south property line shared with residences, and install security doors to control building access. Would that be all right to amend the recommendation with?
They're shaking their heads yes.
Yeah, and to me,
Okay.
it's fine, I'm not sure, they've already presented that as, that's what they're doing. I don't know if it really technically needs to be a condition, but that's fine.
We could just drop the security doors to control site access, and just change number 5 to just mention the fence alone, if that's all right. So I'll read it as that. Okay.
So your recommendation now is to keep it as gates or doors?
Yeah, so I'll read the recommendation without the line mentioning the gates, as an amended recommendation. So staff has reviewed the petitioner's request in Z2314 and recommends that the BZA grant the conditional use permit. Should the board feel the petitioner has met the standards, it's subject to conditions: 1, approval by the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals of the conditional use case known as Z2302 in compliance with all of that case's conditions. 2, approval by the BZA of the developmental variance cases known as Z2303A and B, compliance with all of those cases' conditions. 3, submittal, technical review, and final approval of project site and civil plans by city staff, including but not limited to grading plan, utility plan, photometric plan, landscaping plan with plant schedule, fire hydrants, and life safety plan demonstrating paths of egress. 4, install dense rows of trees and shrubs along east and south property lines. 5, install a permitted 6-foot tall fence or approved alternative, especially along south property line shared with the residences. 6, final approval and completion of a stormwater detention system. 7, if groundwater dewatering required as part of the development and discharged into the Hammond Sanitary District wastewater collection system, then they must contact the Hammond Sanitary District prior. 8, finalization and recording of a commitment restrictions document in accordance with Title Section 19.70.10.
All right, you've heard the comments from the staff in regard to their recommendations. Staff have any other recommendations or amendments to the staff report?
No.
Okay. Then we have, as far as some proposed findings of fact, any comments or recommendations in regard to those? Do we have a motion to adopt the staff report and the proposed findings of fact as presented, and any amendments that have been made?
I'll make that motion.
For Z-23-14 for the conditional use.
I'll make that motion.
We have a
I'll
motion.
second it.
And we have a second. Roll call vote.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
I did.
Oh,
Nancy.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll second that
Thank you.
anytime.
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes.
4 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
All right, and we will go to Z-23-02, conditional use permit for truck and trailer rentals as an accessory use for 6303 Calumet Avenue. That report and their recommendations.
Yes, so staff has reviewed the petitioner's request in Z23-02 and recommends that the BZA grant the conditional use permit. Should the board feel the petitioner has met the standards subject to conditions: 1, approval by the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals of the conditional use case known as Z2314 in compliance with all of that case's conditions; 2, approval by the BZA of the developmental variance cases known as Z2303A and B in compliance with all of those cases' conditions; 3, store all trucks, trailers, and likewise in the rear of the property as marked in site plan; 4, never store disabled or junk vehicles and/or trucks for more than a 72-hour period; 5, install a no right turns for trucks and rental vehicles sign at the Kenwood Street exit; 6, receive final approval from NDOT for a right-of-way permit concerning a new curb cut on Calumet Avenue in accordance with any conditions required by NDOT; 7, final technical approval of the development plans by the various departments. Should the BZA grant the conditional use for truck and rental vehicles under this petition, the board must reauthorize the self-service storage facility conditional use permit granted for Z2314 pursuant to Title Section 24.42 subsection 3.
Okay, Madam Chairman, according to the secretary, she said that the actual motion to approve the conditional use permit under Z2314, you didn't actually motion that, is that correct?
I believe the secretary is correct,
Okay,
because I think all we did
So-
was to put
so
the
if-
staff report and that into record. So would you mind if we backtrack? Okay, would you mind if we backtrack?
I think it would be appropriate to backtrack, yes.
Okay. Then do we have a motion in regard to Z-23-14 for the conditional use permit for the self-service storage facility? Do I have a motion to approve, deny?
I'll make the
table?
motion to
What?
approve.
Approve it?
Yes,
Do we have a motion to approve it?
Subject to the conditions. of the
Subject
staff report.
to the conditions provided in the staff.
recommendations.
Amended commission.
Do we have a second, Mrs. Reagan?
I'll make second motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have a roll call vote now.
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes.
4 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Thank you for catching that for us. All right, I think we have had the staff report and their recommendation for the 2302 for the truck and trailer rentals. We do have, as far as proposed findings of fact, any changes or recommendations from the board in regard to those or additions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adopt the staff report and the proposed findings of fact as presented?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion,
I'll second it.
and we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes.
4 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Okay, in regard to Z-2302, the conditional use permit for truck and trailer rental, do we have a motion in regard to the conditional use permit?
I
And
make
the
a motion that we
recommendation.
grant the conditional use permit is met in the standards from 1 through 7.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes.
4 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
All right,
Okay, and just to point out, the last action you need to take on this case, as stated under the, at the end of the conditions, number 7, according to the zoning ordinance, if you approve a second conditional use, it actually removes the first one.
So we should go 1 through 6?
Not
I
the
think
1
it's
through
a-
6. The action is you adopted Z2302, and that basically, according to the ordinance, just canceled Z2314. So what you now need to make a motion, as stated in the staff report, is that you need to have a motion to reauthorize Z2314.
I'm going to make a motion that we
reauthorize.
reauthorize Z-23-14.
And then just say pursuant to Title Section 24.42, parens 3.
So has,
What was that?
Pursuant to 24, pursuant to section 2424,
For sessions to 2424,
subsection
subsection
3.
3. Over there.
It's 2442.
Sorry, 24.
22.
I'm-
24.42, 3, would that be it? Okay.
We have such a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote.
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes.
4 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Okay, can we make sure that we've covered 2302, because was it, she was just with the recommendations through 7, or was it through 9?
It was, the recommendations were,
Through 7?
yes.
Okay. All right. Now we can move to Z-2303, parens A, for the developmental variance regarding height over 15 feet and a one-story for self-service storage facility.
Staff has reviewed the petitioner's request for case Z2302A and recommends that the BZA grant the developmental variance should the board feel the petitioner has met the standards, subject to the following conditions. 1, approval by the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals of the conditional use case known as Z2314 in compliance with all of that case's conditions. 2, approval by the BZA of the conditional use case known as Z2302 in compliance with all of that case's conditions. 3, approval by the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals of the developmental variance case known as Z2303B in compliance with all of that case's conditions. 4, peak roof height of any structure on property will not surpass 40 feet. 5, building will be constructed as close to the northwest corner of the parcel as is allowed per zoning ordinance.
All right. Any questions in regard to the recommendation? We also have proposed findings of fact. Any additions, deletions, comments? Can we make a motion to just adopt the staff report and the proposed findings of fact as presented? That will cover this one. Okay, do we have a motion to adopt, to approve the staff recommendations and the proposed findings of fact for Z-23-03, parens A?
I make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes.
4 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Is the motion to approve or deny the developmental variance as presented? going to negate anything else in the other one? Or we're okay?
You're okay. Just say with the conditions,
With the condition
with
as
the,
presented by the board, staff?
yeah.
Okay, do we have such a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve, provided the standards are met, that are provided in the staff report,
Their conditions.
or condition.
I'll second that.
Do we have a roll call vote?
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Kathleen Hill,
Yes.
4 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Okay, we will move to Z-23-03, parens B, developmental variance for the building footprint over 10,000 square feet for self-service storage facilities at 6303 Calumet Avenue.
Yes, staff has reviewed the petitioner's request in Z2303B, and recommends that the BZA grant the developmental variance should the board feel the petitioner has met the standards subject to the following conditions. 1, approval by the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals of the conditional use case known as Z2314, and compliance with all of that case's conditions. 2, approval by the BZA of the conditional use case known as Z2302 in compliance with all of that case's conditions. 3, approval by the BZA of the developmental variance case known as Z2303A in compliance with all of those cases' conditions. And 4, maximum footprint of the ground floor of any structure on property will not surpass 27,500 square feet.
Any questions?
I do. When we were looking at the site plan earlier, I also did not see a dumpster enclosure. Is that inside your building or part of your building, or is it, what is it?
At your house.
Sorry, I'm having trouble seeing this, my printout here. There's a refuse area you see on the site plan. That's right near the center of the building, underneath a wall-mounted light. So you'll have a dumpster enclosure.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
That's all I'm asking. Thank you. That's it.
All right. Okay, we have a proposed findings of fact. Any additions to those? Any recommendations? Hearing none, do we have a motion? Oh, excuse me. To adopt the staff report with their recommendations for Z-23-03 parens B and the proposed findings of fact into the record?
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call vote?
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Kathleen Hill,
Yes.
4 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Do we have a motion in regard to Z-23-03 parens B for the developmental variance for the building footprint over 10,000 square feet for self-service storage facility and the recommendations presented to the board for the conditions? Okay? No?
Close,
Tell us now.
close enough.
Okay, close enough. Do we have a motion?
I make the motion that we grant the developmental to the standard of the following condition.
Close enough.
Is that close enough? 1 through 4, I'm afraid to add anything more.
That's all right, that's all right.
We have a close enough motion. Do we have a close enough second?
I'll second.
We have a close enough vote? Roll call vote.
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill,
Yes,
4 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
I would like to thank the company for coming back to Hammond and presenting all this and taking care, we're dealing with our staff, dealing with the city, and dealing with the board. Thank you very much, and good luck. Welcome again. All right. I think we're close enough to commissioners' comments. Any comments? Any staff comments?
Oh,
I thought you were going to say something.
Just a go.
Okay, all right. Tom, are we expecting cases for October? I'm suspecting that it is the one by the Ice Cube.
Yeah, so Ice Cube had come in January for oversized, well, a larger than normal sign. If you've not heard, they now have someone else took over the trampoline park inside, and so they will be asking to an additional signage on that Cube Sports Complex on Mahoney Drive. And they've been working on it. They should be getting us the paperwork this week. So
So that would
I
be
spoke with
for,
them earlier today.
for January or what?
No, for end of October,
End of October?
October 31st.
He was making a comparison to we did something similar in January, and now they're coming
Oh.
back with another sign.
We're coming back for the same property. again.
Okay, will they be available, because will they not be having Halloween parties on those days?
So, I mean, that is the question, is that the meeting is the 31st, Halloween.
Yeah, and they did state that the person in charge, that they put in charge of that site, will be available.
Would what?
The manager of that site they put in charge will be available, they've told me.
Okay.
On the 31st. So are you guys comfortable with that?
Yes.
Just
Okay, so.
Just so if I hear a trick or treater on the way to or from, you're gonna take care of it.
Well,
Jinx.
well, the poor
I don't
kid,
know very good at
well, you know, you guys, we're all going to have our houses egged.
That's what I was gonna say, I hope my house doesn't
Yeah,
have candy
really.
out in the
well, you
bowl.
know, we got a bunch of little kids,
Well, okay, anyway, so,
We
so,
could have a chamber trick or treat.
The answer is yes.
We're available.
okay, so we're going to go forward on the 31st for at least the one case that we are expecting, and if something else shows up, we'll obviously be prepared for that.
You will be.
I hope you guys will be too,
yeah.
Of course.
of course.
All right, public comments. Anybody online? Hearing none, we will close public comments, and I move that we adjourn.
I agree.
All in favor?
I second that.
Okay.
And I gotta sign something.